Lanny Poffo.
You know, Lanny Poffo, great guy. He was one of the guys who helped me in Watts' territory to help teach me to work. Him and Art Cruz and George Weingroff. It
Mm.
was those three. Lanny was a good guy, and I was with Lanny just a few days before he died. It was terrible.
Yeah,
Couldn't believe it.
absolutely. Very first person I ever interviewed as well, and he was great with me. Greg Valentine.
Craig's a good guy. He's quiet and he's he's a good guy. He's just slow to react a lot of times. He's a good guy. I
As,
love Greg.
as Gorilla Monsoon you say, it takes him 10, 15 minutes to get warmed up. Maybe that's in
Yeah,
conversation as well.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
actually, when I interviewed him, he'd had a couple of drags, and he was
Yeah.
lively as you like on those ones. I've not even released that interview yet, but something to look forward to. Marty Jannetty.
I just saw Marty the other day and he looked great. Marty's a wild man. And he could work in the ring too. He's good.
JJ Dillon.
JJ Dillon, very smart guy. Um, totally for the business.
Hmm.
He did a really good job when he was a travel agent. Great manager. He's a good friend.
Michael Hayes.
Michael Hayes. I didn't know Michael very well. I worked with him in Florida Championship Wrestling. We had great matches, and what I know of him, he was a really good guy.
Dino Bravo.
Oh, one of the strongest guys I know.
Mm.
Um, he was one of the only guys I knew that could jump right on the bench and do 500 pounds. Before, him and Neidhart, just not warming up, not doing anything, jump right under the bar and do it. I could never do that. I had to warm up with 2 1/4, 315, work my way up. These guys could get right under it and do it.
Mm.
I couldn't believe it.
You never did it at 3 a.m., though, like Jim.
Yeah, I never did at 3 a.m. like Jim. Yeah. Jim was a little different.
Dr. Death. Steve Williams.
Dr. Death. He was a, a real quiet, strong guy. He wouldn't really hurt a flea unless you pissed him off or unless Bill Watts said, tear this guy up. But he was a really nice man.
Honky.
Honky Tonk. Um, Great storyteller. He was a hell of a worker and a hell of a talker and a good friend. He was friends with everybody, but he always spoke his mind. If he didn't like something, he would say it.
Don Morocco always told me if he wanted to get the gossip in the business, he'd just take a little seat next to Honky Tonk Man, and Honky Tonk would start telling him.
Honky knew all he did.
Slick.
Slick, slick. Holy cow! Slick is such a nice guy, and I think him and Akeem were great partners together because they were alike. Because George, the one man gang, Akeem, he was one of the nicest guys in the business too. They just were a perfect fit together. You always wanted them around you.
Next one. Oh, your mate, John Nord.
John Nord,
Yeah.
John Nord would, if you're his friend, he would die for you. He's one of those kind of friends. Anything that you needed, he would be there. He was a wild man. You had to help him out a lot, but he would definitely help you out.
How's he doing these days?
He's doing really good. In fact, I got to call him. He called me a couple of days ago and left a message, but he's doing really well right now. He's had some serious problems, and with alcohol and drugs and everything, and been in trouble for it. And he's been off of it for a long time now. And he's just a great guy.
Do you know, because I didn't have this written down, but I was wondering if you knew the story about John Nord and the Iron Sheik.
Never knew that story.
S-
What
Uh,
was it?
so the story is that they were going through customs somewhere.
Oh,
John,
I did hear that story.
tell me.
She put some pot or something in his bag, and John went through customs with it. Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. John never really talked about it with me, but you know, he was pissed. I don't know if they fought or what they did, but you know, what a low thing to do.
Mm. Next one, Kerry Von Erich.
I really liked Kerry. Kerry was a very nice guy to me. I don't know how he was with other people. I didn't know him very well, but a few days before he died, I roomed with him out in New Mexico, and we had about 5 hours, to catch our plane. So we uh, shared a room, stayed overnight. He was just a really, really nice guy, and I couldn't believe when he passed away.
Yeah. Bam Bam Bigelow.
Good looking guy too. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
When you in person, his face and everything, he was just a very handsome guy.
I can't believe that. Like when you look at photos, he's related to David. Like they look
Completely
different.
Completely. Yeah, David, nowhere, nothing looks like him, and Kevin kind of looks like both of them, but Kerry definitely, the handsome one.
Yeah, you got the genetics definitely, Kerry, in that one.
Yeah.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow, he was an outdoorsman. I went fishing with him. We were in Pikes Peak. Me and him went out and went fishing, and he was one of those guys again that was really a nice guy. You look at him and you don't think that of him, but he was a good guy. He screwed up big time. Mm-hmm. He told everybody he was going to be the world champion, and Andre the Giant didn't like that and beat him up one time in the ring. For real.
Were you watching when that happened, or?
I didn't see it, but I heard it.
I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 3 more names, so I'm going to be really judicious with who I'm going to ask about. I can never turn down a story about Robert Fuller.
I didn't know Robert Fuller.
Okay, forget about, he doesn't count. Sid.
Sid, and I knew Sid, but I didn't really know about him. He was a big son of a gun, and like I said, I didn't really know him that well. I just said, hey Sid, how are you doing? But that's kind of what I knew about him.
Man, I'm picking some bad names here for the last couple. What am I going to say? Buddy Landell.
Buddy Landell. I traveled a lot with Buddy. Buddy kept in contact with me. He was a really good guy. Tell a lot of stories. I think he bragged himself up a lot more than what he was, But Buddy was a hell of a worker. He tried to be like Ric Flair, and he was like Ric Flair, but it's just a different version of him, Good guy.
Yeah, I think the story goes with Buddy that he somehow managed to talk himself out of a feud with Ric Flair, or that he just didn't show up the first day when he was supposed to wrestle Ric Flair in the NWA or something.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I don't know why he did that. That was his big break.
I know.
Right?
Crazy. Penultimate, Coco Beware.
Coco Beware. Oh, I love Coco. Every time I see him on the road, you give him a hug, and great family guy, hardworking guy. He was one of those guys that he could work, and he was a tough son of a gun. Coco Beware. In real life, Coco was, but a gentleman.
Did you ever hear the story about when he beat up Troy? Troy something or other. He was one of the Office guys.
Yeah, that was in Europe.
Jim Troy, that's it.
Jim Troy. And Jim Troy was a hockey player, so I think Jim was kind of a tough guy in his deal. But yeah, I don't know what it was all about. But for Coco to get in a fight with somebody, it had to be pretty bad, because Coco's a very nice guy. He's a gentleman,
And we'll end on this.